Hi, everybody. Good evening, ladies. Thank you so much for being here tonight for this self-care webinar. Before we get started, just a couple housekeeping notes. If you can, make sure you stay muted just during the presentation portion of this. I know we're all at home and we've got dogs and all kinds of noises in the background, and that's fine. I'm sure my dogs will come in here at some point too. But just stay muted for a little while, and then we'll all drop in and interact with each other during the share and tell portion. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I do record the webinars, and that's to make them available to people who weren't able to make it this evening. So if that makes you uncomfortable, it's totally fine if you want to keep your cameras off. I won't take it personally. But just a note about that. So I'll go ahead and get the presentation started. If anyone has any questions, drop them into the chat. If for some reason you can't hear me, wave your hands wildly and I'll figure out what the issue is, but hopefully we won't have any trouble. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So again, thank you for being here. Welcome to the self-care webinar. I know a lot of us have become familiar with self-care and what that means this year and in 2020. So I'll go over a little bit of what I've got prepared for you, and then I think it'll be nice to interact with each other during the share and tell and talk about what we're all doing to practice self-care and also what we're doing to hold ourselves accountable to make the time to practice self-care. So before we jump into this, a little bit about me. I think everyone that's here this evening knows me personally, but just in case, my name is Anastasia. I'm the owner and founder of VegShe Health and Wellness. I'm a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, and nutrition coach. I am a vegan. I have two crazy and wonderful dogs, and they are my babies. And I guess one fun fact about me is that I can't start my day without caffeine, and I usually have to have it again somewhere in the middle just because without it, I don't know that my brain would work. So that's a little bit about me and the things that matter to me. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this. Let's define self-care. So what is self-care? So it's any act or action that supports your physical, spiritual, or emotional well-being. And I think it's important to really think of self-care as this all-encompassing thing that includes all of these facets, because I think a lot of times people think just exercising, that's self-care, but there's so much more to this, and there's so many ways that you can take care of yourself. I'd like to think of self-care as really just care in general. I think about the way that I care for other people and the people in my life, the way I care for my dogs, the way I care for my house plants, the way I take care of my car, but all of that energy that I put into taking care of everything externally, it's taking that, turning it around, and providing that care for yourself. Why is self-care important? So, as we all know, you can't pour from an empty pitcher. So, most of us, myself included, wear a lot of hats. So, we have mothers on this call, we have dog moms on this call, we have people who are your wives or spouses or partners to somebody. We all have these different responsibilities and we wear all of these different hats, and really there's no way to do all of those things well if you don't take care of yourself first. And I think that, at least for myself personally, it's really easy for me to prioritize the care of others before it is to prioritize my own care. It's just me. It's just what I tend to fall into. And it's difficult sometimes to stop, hit the brakes, and listen to what it is that I need. So that's something that I'm working really hard on, and that's part of the reason why we're talking about this evening, is because I think it's something we could all do a little bit better, I'm sure. And another thing to keep in mind is you've only got one mind, you've only got one body, and if you're not taking care of it, how are you going to live? How can you function like that? How can you live a life that's meaningful and sustainable and happy, if you're not prioritizing your own care? I'm a firm believer in preventative care. I believe in, taking the steps and investing the time and taking care of yourself now so that you can have lifelong wellness and in a physical and a mental standpoint. Um, but it sometimes takes a catalyst to kick us into gear. So, for example, for me, that catalyst was the pandemic. Um, I would say that when we first went into lockdown, and I'm sure a lot of us experienced this, I went through a lot of highs and lows. I went through denial for a little while. And then there were some days where I didn't want to get out of bed. I totally lacked motivation. And it took all of those feelings and that crazy, I don't know, a crazy scenario. It took a pandemic for me to realize that the way I was not taking care of myself wasn't going to be sustainable, either for the duration of 2020 or for the many years, hopefully, to come after that. So I took the opportunity of being at home to hit the brakes and focus my energy inward. So, with that in mind, we can talk about how we can practice self care. And like I was mentioning earlier, I like to break this up into mind, body, and spirit, just because I don't feel like, even though I'm a personal trainer, I don't want people to just focus on their physical health. I think it's the whole thing, right? And so much falls under the umbrella of self care. So as I have a few things listed here. So under mind, I've got reading, journaling, learning a new skill, connecting with other people, even if that's through Zoom. So even by attending this webinar, you're practicing self-care. For your body, there's exercise, of course, there's napping, and napping has become my new favorite. Cooking and eating well, positive touch. And so that can be positive touch from a partner. That can be positive touch interacting with your pets. It can be positive self-touch. And it's interesting, actually. Our bodies and our minds have a similar response to us giving ourselves a hug as we do from hugging other people. And so, if you feel so inclined, stop in the middle of the day, give yourself a nice big hug, because your body responds positively to that sort of touch and interaction. Grooming, which I think is a really popular one. Just looking at all of the self-care practices that I'm seeing online, everyone's like pedicures and bubble baths. And so that seems to be a very popular form of self-care. In terms of taking care of your spirit or your soul or whatever it is that you believe in, that thing about you that makes you you. I think that meditation can be very helpful. Sometimes even clearing your physical space can be good for your spirit. So having a room that you can center yourself in, but first decluttering it and removing any physical space or distractions. Unplugging or disconnecting. This can be really challenging. I have a really hard time with it, especially. We're so connected on all these devices and on all these social media platforms, and we're all working from home for the most part. So we're all on Zoom all day. And so unplugging and disconnecting feels like an impossibility. What I've tried to do is at least have my phone off on the weekends, and it's not been easy, but it's something that I'm trying my best to do. And I've tried to set specific work hours for myself too, because I work from home, which makes it really easy to just never stop working. So I do try to set a schedule to get that under control. Another thing you can do to practice self-care for your spirit or your soul is to get out into nature. Some people call it forest bathing, right? So just going outside, getting even a short distance away from civilization. So even if that means just going to a local park and sitting on the grass, or even standing on the grass with your bare feet and just grounding yourself, there's something about physically connecting with the earth that I find to be very healing. So if you're up for it, hug a tree, take off your shoes, stand in the grass. You'd be surprised kind of how fantastic it feels. So for practicing self-care for myself personally, I had to shift my mindset. So like I mentioned earlier, it took the pandemic for me to realize that I wasn't really taking care of myself. And that's not to say that I wasn't exercising regularly or anything like that, but that was kind of all I was doing. And I wasn't necessarily exercising because I love myself or out of self care. It was more of like this, it had become this weird obsessive thing I felt that I had to do. And I had almost forgotten why I had started to begin with. It started becoming very about my appearance and less about my health. And so, in order to shift that mindset, I started focusing on my inner child. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that or if you're familiar with what an inner child is. But it's basically, for me, I picture myself as like a 7-year-old, right? And so what I'll do is if I start to feel overwhelmed or I start to feel like something isn't quite right, it's almost like I stop myself and have a conversation with the 7-year-old version of Anastasia. So I stop everything and I ask her, what is it that you need? You know, something's obviously not right. Something's out of balance. How can I help you? And this sort of shift has been helpful for me because I have a tendency, like I said before, to want to care for other people before I care for myself. And so if I can look at my inner child as being almost a different person, I'm more inclined to stop and help her. And I can't say that there are very many of us who are going to ignore a 7-year-old who's in need of something, right? So if I can change my perspective and just ask her what it is that she needs, I'm more likely to make that effort. And it's amazing that no matter what age we're at, a lot of times our needs are really simple, right? So for a while, I started to realize that I was cranky because I needed to take a nap, you know, and it's just like nap time when you're in kindergarten. And it's, I always wonder, why didn't we continue that into adulthood? So at any age, it's amazing how simple our needs are. Sometimes we just need a snack or we need to take a nap. And I feel like it's not too much to ask to, you know, meet those requests of ourselves. Another thing that you can do to try and stick to a self care sort of regimen without it being stressful or too much pressure would be to first create a list of things that you enjoy doing. So, things that are relaxing to you or fulfilling to you, or things that just spark joy for you. And then what I like to do is at the beginning of each week, I'll take one thing from that list and I will put it on my calendar and I'll schedule it on a specific day. And I try to do one self care practice each day of the week. That way, I can really get the benefits of giving myself the attention that I know that I need from myself. So what I do is I set these appointments and I never make them longer than 30 minutes because we all have 30 minutes. Even those of us who are working and going to school, you can find 30 minutes for yourself and you owe it to yourself to do that. And so my workouts are never longer than 30 minutes. My meditations are usually shorter than 30. To be honest, they're probably about 20 minutes, but you know, you can build up to a longer meditation. But I find that 20 minutes is the sweet spot before I get too comfortable and then want to sleep. So for me, 20 minutes is a good cutoff point. So make these appointments with yourself and take them seriously. Commit to them. You know, I'd like to look at them as I would an appointment with a client. I'm not going to blow that off. So why would I blow off time with myself? You know, so it's all about changing your perspective and the way that you approach making time for self-care. So that's kind of what I've been doing to be consistent. So where do I start? So I've included some links here, and don't worry if you don't click on them or write them all down now. I'm going to send them all in an email when I send you guys the recording. But just to give you some starting points, I've created some self-care journal prompts, and there's a link here for those, and that's going to be it's going to direct you to my blog. And I created some prompts there that can get you started on practicing self-care. Another thing you can do, of course, is sign up for one of my Saturday group classes. Like I said, nothing I do is more than 30 minutes, and those classes are fast and effective, and they're a lot of fun, and we're, you know, a really awesome group of ladies that I enjoy working out with. So if you're looking for someone to hold you accountable, that group definitely will. Another thing that I like to do is I follow the NAP ministry, and this was started by a woman who is basically her whole movement is about the power of napping and resisting sort of this pressure that society puts on us to constantly be productive. And it's really common for people to tie their self-worth and their self-value to how much they produce, and how effective they are at their jobs. And she's totally anti that. She's totally opposed to it. And she believes that people should take the time to nap and care for themselves and separate yourself from this idea that if you're not making a lot of money, that you're a failure, or you're not a good person, or you're not worthy, right? So that is a really cool account to follow. The link is for the website, but if you just follow the Nap Ministry on Instagram, you can get regular updates on there. And I find that she posts more on her Instagram than on her website. Another link that I've provided is a quick self-love meditation, and it's on YouTube with Yoga with Adrienne, and she's awesome, and she always has her dog with her in her videos. And I find that her meditations are short, but they're long enough that I feel like I get the benefit of a meditation practice. So this is a good starting point. Also, using the tips that I recommended before, start by making a list of the things that you enjoy or the things that make you happy, and then start scheduling them out. Put them on your calendar, make the time. So with all of that being said, we're going to jump into the Q&A portion, and then we'll do our share and tell, so we can talk about our different self-care practices and all of that good stuff. So before we jump into the share and tell, does anyone have any questions on anything that I've said, or do you need me to repeat anything?
I love your hair.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I also self-care. I was just ready for a change, and I felt like my hair was taking up too much of my time.
I get that.
Thank you. I like it too, and it feels nice to touch it.
Easy maintenance.
It's easy. Yeah, I'll have to keep it. I'll shave it every couple weeks, but I don't think it shouldn't be too much trouble.
Nice.
Okay, so if we don't have any questions, we can jump into the share and tell, and I will, let's see. I know how to do this. Stop sharing. There it is. I will stop sharing, and then if you'd like to jump in and share with us what you guys like to do for self-care, you're welcome to keep your cameras off if you feel more comfortable, but I'd love to know what you guys are doing to take care of yourselves, and hopefully continue to take care of yourselves after the pandemic is over.
I felt, especially during the pandemic, walks and my audio books. I love to start my day with that. And yeah,
that's great. So do you listen to the audiobooks while you're walking?
Yeah. Oh. I get into a story and just get lost in it and looking at nature, and that is happy. And gardening is another self-care thing that I do.
Oh, that's great. You know, I haven't ever, that I can think of, ever listened to an audiobook, and I wanted to get into it when I was driving more, when I actually had to go places, and then I didn't have to drive anywhere. So I'll have to give it a try, because I've really enjoyed podcasts. That's a new thing I started listening to in the last year. And I think it would be nice for someone to read to me. So I'll have to give that a try.
It's nice. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any self-care practices that we should all be doing?
I'll put myself on video. I have no makeup on or anything, but
no, you look beautiful, Cheryl. It's good to see you.
I saw someone else did it. So.
Well, I can talk about, oh, Siri, are you going to share?
Hi.
Anyone?
I love Cheryl's, you know, what she shared, and I've been doing similar to Cheryl, just more walking, trying to connect with being outside. The only other thing that weirdly I started doing through this pandemic is exfoliating. I never was into that. And now I'm kind of I bought, it's one of those, maybe I can share it later if I can figure out I threw the box away, but It's one where you continue to use it for several months and just kind of clean it out and add the soap. And it's got a soft side and then a little bit more aggressive, side for like my legs. Anyways, that's felt really good. And maybe that's like self-care I never thought to do, to take that extra 2-3 minutes in the shower, to exfoliate my face and my neck and my elbows and my feet.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's funny that you say that because I started doing that in the last year too. I bought this special little brush and I don't know, I feel like the outside is more abrasive than the inside and you just
Okay.
kind of in circular motions. It's for face and neck. And then I did start taking bubble baths just on Sundays, and that's when I exfoliate my feet because they get so dry. I exercise barefoot, and I find that my feet just don't respond well to that. So I'm all about exfoliating. It does make a big difference.
Well, maybe we can share our little tips maybe would that be appropriate in your blog? Like if we, I don't
Yeah,
figure
no,
out
we can share exfoliating tools. I can send when I send out the email with the recording, I'll send links and I can
okay, because now I'm interested in yours.
yeah, absolutely. Of
Okay, thank you.
course.
Speaking of exfoliating, have you guys tried like the gloves that you use to like shower? It's like instead of a loofah or a sponge or anything, it's gloves and they're just like you feel so good after. But what I wanted to share was in the last year I started using the Calm app a lot. So I have anxiety, so I have a lot of trouble sleeping. So my therapist actually recommended that. And it's been helping. I do like the guided meditations here and there just to de-stress. Again, like with school and everything, I just need some time. I also recently found my diffuser. I had it just stored somewhere in my closet, so I started using aromatherapy again. So that's been really nice too.
Oh, that's great. And it's cool you're using the Calm app. Is that a paid app or is it free?
They have a free version, but I'm still under my parents' medical coverage, so I'm with Kaiser. So Kaiser patients have free access to like the premium version for like a year.
Oh,
Yeah, but then after that, I think you can pay for like a monthly or a yearly subscription. I'm not sure how much it is, but it's definitely worth it to buy the premium one.
that's great. That's awesome. I was using Headspace for a while and I think it's a similar idea, but it focuses on meditation and they had different programs depending on sort of what you were trying to accomplish. And I was using it for my anxiety because my anxiety had gotten really, really bad, especially at the beginning of lockdown. Um, That's another one that I think is paid. I had gotten some sort of free promo and I was able to do it free for a year, which was really cool. And then when it expired, I started looking for free resources, but I should probably just sign up for it. But I had been meaning to try Calm because I've heard good things about that one as well. For my meditations at the moment, I've been trying to just use free ones on YouTube, ones that don't have any visuals because my eyes are closed anyway. But I just test out the free ones with anybody that's got a calm voice. And I like that I can choose based on duration because I meditate before bed. And so, like I was saying, if I meditate for too long, I start to doze off. So, in order to make it as productive as possible, I try to cap myself at like 15-20 minutes. And the exfoliating gloves. I have a reusable one that I got at Sprouts, and I can machine wash it with my laundry.
Mhm.
Because I for a long time I was using the loofah material ones, but I didn't like that I was throwing away so much plastic. So the one I have might be like what you were mentioning, is it's from Sprouts, and I love it, and I use it,
Mhm.
arms, legs, the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the brand that I use is Eco Tools.
Okay.
So yeah, I can like watch them, reuse them, all that stuff for like a few months, and then they're good to go.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, but the Comet, definitely check it out. I remember when I was doing the free version, you still have access to a lot. Like they have like soundscapes, music, again, like guided meditations. They even have bedtime stories, which are actually really nice to use.
Oh, that's
You just kind of
cool.
like drift away. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'd have to give that I want to give it a try. I'll download it after this and do some of the free stuff and I'll look into the pricing too because I'm curious what that looks like. I think one app that I was using because I mentioned for self care, part of it is for some people, it's learning a new skill. So I've been using Duolingo and I'm trying to learn Spanish. So I've been doing that for more than a year. And because I haven't had anyone to talk to, even though I have people I can talk to, I haven't practiced because my pronunciation's awful, but my vocabulary has gotten really good. But that's an app too that I really enjoy. And I actually paid for it because I felt like if I paid for it, I would practice my Spanish. And I have. I think I'm on a streak. I think it's been like 430 days I've been practicing every day. So, but if you heard me speak Spanish, it wouldn't seem like I've been practicing that much, but I have been. So, it's amazing what our phones can do and how helpful they can be as a self-care tool for all of these different programs that are available. It's kind of amazing. Does anybody else have some self-care tips? I know Simona is a baker. I think I've told you guys about her. She's up in the Bay Area and she bakes, and every so often I will get a special package of vegan desserts in the mail. So I think that's Simona's self-care practice. And then let's see. My mom dropped into the chat. She said naps, stretching, listening to music, and reading. She's done less self-care lately, but she's hoping to get back on track. Yeah, that's definitely, I think, the challenge is being consistent, right? And sometimes if you choose a self-care practice that you think you should be doing, but it isn't something that you really enjoy, you don't stick with it. It's the same thing with exercise. If you don't find a format that you enjoy, you're not going to be consistent with it. And that makes sense. We just like to do the things that we enjoy. So definitely try different things in the list and find the things that spark joy for you so that you can be consistent with them. So let's see. Whoops. I just clicked on that presentation. I clicked through the whole rest of it. Did anyone else want to share anything before?
I was driving, but I think, yes. I think my self-care routine will be like, I found that stretching and doing like yoga stretching in the morning, it really helps a lot with your whole body.
Right. Yeah. Yoga and stretching in the morning. I hope you're not driving, Simona.
Driving, actually.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you called in from the car.
Yeah, but then I heard you call my name, so I need to answer.
Oh, you didn't have to answer. I was answering for you because I figured you were doing something with the dog or, just focus on
Yeah,
driving.
I was actually letting them go to a dog park, so. And walking dogs helps with it too.
Yeah. Walking the dog is good self-care. Boy, I feel like that's all I do is walk my dogs every morning for so long.
Yeah.
Drive carefully, Simona.
I'm home. I'm almost home.
Okay.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Of course. Oh, and I think Jenna just dropped in. Hi, Jenna.
Hello.
Did you want to share any of your favorite self-care activities with the group? Not to put you on the spot.
I love going out for a walk just after we're in the pandemic right now and I spend most of my time inside. So the way I take care of myself is just taking my dog on a walk, honestly.
That's perfect. That's what Simona was just saying, and that she enjoys walking her dog and starting her day with yoga and stretching, and it makes sense. Dogs are good for that because they make you walk them.
Yes. If I don't walk him for at least a half hour, I will hear it for the rest of the day.
Oh yeah. They're vocal when they don't get what they want. Yeah, I take both dogs separately in the morning because they're just not fun to walk together. So I take each of them for about 25 or 30 minutes each. And then in the evening, my husband takes them to the park to play fetch. They have to get out twice a day. They're just very high energy. And if we don't take them, if we try to just sit down and watch a movie, they're constantly bringing us toys or sitting in front of us and whining, and they're a bit much, but they keep us moving because I think otherwise we'd be a little bit lazier than we are. So grateful to our pets. And for those of you who have cats, you can walk your cats. I do have a friend who walks her cats. She's got little harnesses for them and she lets them climb trees and all kinds of stuff. Well, I think everyone shared their self-care practices. Let's see. My mom says walking the dogs helps. She likes to do it in the morning. Oh, and she likes to get oxygen to her brain before she starts her day. My mom is a student and she works, so anytime she can get up and move around is good. And here's Matches. He just came back from the park and he's all out of breath. Okay, so that's what I had for you guys this evening. I know everybody dropped in and shared their tips and tricks. I hope that this was helpful for you. I like I mentioned, it's recorded, so I'm going to send this out once I edit it in an email. I'll include the links that we talked about. I can include a link that mentions the Calm app as well and some of the exfoliation tools that we mentioned. I just have to find the links. I have to think of where I bought them. And I think the last thing that I was going to mention is that I've got another webinar coming up next month on May 12th, and it's going to be about, it's called Waste Not, Want Not, and it's a zero waste discussion. So how you can create less waste in your home and use less single-use plastics and things like that. So that's what the next discussion will be about. And I'm going to try and get in touch with a few people I know who are 100% zero waste, because I think it would be interesting to hear from them and how they live that way, because that's pretty intense. I don't know how you can create, only one little bag of trash in an entire year. So I'm hoping that I can get some helpful tips from the people I know who are professionals at this. So if no one else has anything to add, I think that's it for the webinar. I want to thank you all for being here this evening. I'm going to stay after for a little while. Don't feel like you have to. I'm going to stay after in case anyone has any questions or needs anything from me. So with that being said, thank you, ladies, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And I hope to see you at the webinar next month. Take care, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to stick around in case anyone has any questions.